Sudan, a country once known for its rich cultural heritage, is now synonymous with conflict and uncertainty. To understand the present, we must venture back to the not-so-distant past. 4 years ago, the world watched with bated breath as Sudan cast off the shackles of despotic rule. Dictator Omar al-Bashir, who had held the country in an iron grip for 30 years, was overthrown. It was a moment that promised a new dawn, a fresh start, a hopeful future. But as the old adage goes, nature abhors a vacuum. With the fall of al-Bashir, a power void emerged, quickly filled by rival military factions. The Sudanese Armed Forces, or SAF, and the Rapid Support Forces, the RSF, began a struggle for control of this storied nation. The hope that had once been so palpable began to dissipate, replaced by the all-too-familiar spectre of conflict. The transition to democracy, a path many had hoped Sudan would tread, was hindered by leadership challenges and the limited power of civilian leaders. The situation was further complicated by acts of violence, including the burning of a village in Darfur, attributed to the RSF, and then, in October 2021, Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok was ousted in a military coup, sending shockwaves through the international community. Attempts to unify the SAF and RSF to bring stability back to Sudan have met with failure. The lesson from Sudan is a poignant one. A revolution is merely the starting point of change, not the conclusion. Years after the fall of Omar al-Bashir, Sudan finds itself teetering on the brink of collapse. The country's future hangs in the balance as the world watches, waiting to see what will become of this nation that once held such promise. In the wake of al-Bashir's overthrow, a power vacuum emerged that rival military factions were eager to fill. The struggle for control of Sudan intensified, with their two main players being the Sudanese Armed Forces, or SAF, and the Rapid Support Forces, known as the RSF. Each faction sought to assert dominance, with the ultimate prize being the reins of power. The SAF and RSF weren't shy about flexing their military might. Their tussles for control often escalated into violent confrontations, causing untold suffering to civilians caught in the crossfire. The burning of a village in Darfur stands as a stark reminder of the lengths these factions are willing to go to assert their dominance. The RSF in particular has been implicated in several acts of violence. Their ruthless tactics have not only caused physical harm but also torn the fabric of Sudanese society, sowing fear and uncertainty among the populace. This wave of violence has underscored the instability that has plagued Sudan since the overthrow of al-Bashir. Meanwhile, the SAF, once the guardians of the old regime, stand as the other pillar in this power struggle. Their attempts to maintain control have been met with resistance, leading to further escalations in violence. The SAF's actions, much like those of the RSF, have demonstrated a blatant disregard for the well-being of the Sudanese people. In the midst of this power struggle, the civilian leaders found themselves with limited power, their voices drowned out by the clamor of military might. Their attempts to steer Sudan towards democracy have been thwarted at every turn, leaving the country at a crossroads. With power within reach, the rival factions have shown they will stop at nothing to claim it. The struggle for control continues to rage on, casting a long shadow over Sudan's future. The question remains, who will ultimately wield the reins of power, and at what cost to the people of Sudan? The promise of a democratic Sudan has remained just that, a promise. In the wake of the overthrow of dictator Omar al-Bashir, the country found itself on the brink of collapse. With rival military factions vying for power, the struggle for control has been a bloody one, with the toll on human life reaching staggering numbers. Amidst this chaos, the transition to democracy has been anything but smooth. Leadership challenges have been a significant obstacle in this journey. The Sudanese Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces, two major military factions, have been locked in a power struggle, leaving little room for civilian leaders to assert their authority. As a result, the voice of the people has been drowned out by the clamor of military might. This struggle escalated in October of 2021 when Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok was ousted in a military coup. Hamdok was seen as a beacon of hope, a civilian leader who could guide Sudan towards democracy. But his removal from power was a harsh reminder of the military's grip on the nation. The coup was a significant blow to the transition to democracy. It served as a stark reminder that change would not come easy. The hope that was ignited with the overthrow of al-Bashir seemed to be dwindling. The dream of a democratic Sudan was slipping further out of reach. But it wasn't just the coup that hindered the transition. The limited power of civilian leaders has also been a stumbling block. Without the ability to effectively govern and implement policies, these leaders have been unable to steer Sudan towards democracy. As we delve deeper into the story of Sudan's failed transition, we see a nation caught in a vicious cycle of power struggles and military dominance. The dream of a democratic Sudan seems further away than ever. As Sudan spirals into chaos, the international community watches on with concern. The scale and intensity of the conflict have prompted global powers to take notice and attempt to broker peace. The struggle between the Sudanese Armed Forces, or SAF, and the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, has been a focal point of international diplomacy. Efforts have been made to bring these rival factions to the negotiation table, hoping to unify them and bring stability to the war-torn country. However, these attempts have largely been unsuccessful, with the SAF and RSF remaining at odds, each vying for control. The failure of international diplomacy to reconcile these factions has only served to underscore the complexities and challenges inherent in Sudan's current crisis. The conflict has also had a profound impact on international organizations working on the ground in Sudan. The World Food Programme, a frontline organization in the fight against hunger, has not been spared the effects of the violence. 3 of its workers tragically lost their lives, a stark reminder of the human cost of this conflict. And yet, despite the risks and the mounting challenges, these organizations persist in their mission, working tirelessly to alleviate the suffering of the Sudanese people. Their work, while often overshadowed by the political turmoil, is a crucial lifeline for many in the country. The international community's response to Sudan's crisis is a testament to a collective desire for peace and stability. It's a reminder that the world is watching and that the plight of the Sudanese people has not gone unnoticed. However, the path to peace is fraught with obstacles and the solutions are far from simple. Despite the international community's best efforts, peace in Sudan remains elusive. The ongoing conflict serves as a stark reminder of the complexities of power struggles and the profound impact they can have on a nation and its people. As the world watches on, the hope for a peaceful resolution in Sudan continues to hang in the balance. Today, Sudan stands at a crossroads, with its future hanging in the balance. As we journey through the present-day scenario of this country, we find ourselves in the midst of a deepening crisis, a tapestry woven with the threads of conflict, power struggles, and a thwarted journey towards democracy. The nation, once brimming with hope following the overthrow of dictator Omar al-Bashir 4 years ago, is now teetering on the brink of collapse. Rival military factions, namely the Sudanese Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces, are embroiled in a bitter struggle for control, resulting in the loss of countless lives, including those of international aid workers. This power struggle has ignited a wildfire of violence throughout the country, with incidents like the burning of a village in Darfur serving as chilling reminders of the human cost of such conflicts. The aspiration for a democratic Sudan has been thwarted, largely due to leadership challenges and the limited sway of civilian leaders. The international community, meanwhile, has been making concerted efforts to intervene, albeit with limited success. The objective has been to forge a sense of unity between the feuding military factions, but to date, these attempts have been in vain. The world watches, hopes, and waits for a breakthrough, but the path ahead remains shrouded in uncertainty. Yet, amid this turmoil and uncertainty, the spirit of Sudan remains unbroken. The people of Sudan, who once rallied to topple a dictator, continue to harbor hopes for a peaceful resolution. Their resilience is a beacon of light in a landscape darkened by conflict and power struggles. The path forward for Sudan is uncertain, but the hope for a peaceful resolution persists. As we step into tomorrow, we carry with us the stories of today, the lessons of yesterday, and the hope that Sudan will find its way towards peace, stability, and prosperity. Time will tell the tale of Sudan, and we can only hope that it will be one of triumph over adversity.